Hey guys, how's it going? I'm back from my break and I'm back on the scene. I took up a new hobby while I was away, and that hobby is fishing. Now, we all have something that I like to call comfort games. Now, what is a comfort game? To me, a comfort game is something that you play when you're feeling stressed or you want to feel nostalgic and want to go back to that special place in your life. And for me, that game is Sonic Adventure, a game I played a lot as a kid. Now, whenever I feel down or whenever I feel, a bit, stressed out, I like to play the game. But it's been a while since I played it. The last time I played it was back in 2016 when I initially reviewed it for my Sonic Recap series. If you want to see some cringe, go check out that video. But it's been a while, I'm a bit better at these videos, so let's take a relook at Sonic Adventure, a game that I hold very near and dear to my heart. So check out this review while I go check out some fish.
Oh yeah! This is happening!
That's right, Sonic, it is happening. Welcome back to 1999. Get your copy of Limp Bizkit's Significant Other on CD and complimentary hair bleaching at the door. Sonic took a bit longer to make the jump to 3D compared to his peers like Mario or Final Fantasy. But how are the results? And more importantly, does it hold up? One thing that does hold up is the visuals. I gotta say, I love the direction Sonic Team took with Adventure. Sonic Adventure is truly a cinematic game with high production values, high replay value, and some amazingly bad dialogue.
Oh no! Our weapons are useless! Retreat! All personnel, fall back!
This is the PS3 version we're looking at here, and we'll get to that later. But for now, let's talk about the gameplay. There are 6 characters, so let's take a look at each of them one by one. Sonic is the star of the show here. It is Sonic Adventure after all. Sonic has the biggest campaign and the longest levels, and is the most involved with the story. Sonic is just as speedy as ever, and the stages do a good job of showcasing it with some big loops, corkscrews, getting chased by a big-ass whale, all kinds of cool stuff. The speed sections are nicely spliced in with some good old-fashioned platforming and slower sections to explore the world and take in the beautiful environments. There's a lot of cool sequences here, like running down a building, riding bumper cars in outer space, escaping from a boulder. It lends to this feeling of Sonic's adventure mode being truly an adventure, as well as being really fun to play. There are some issues, like during the chase scene in Emerald Coast, the camera changes without warning. Unless you know when the camera changes, you're going down. And during the auto-run sequences, sometimes it will wig out unless Sonic hits them just right. Otherwise, he's going off course. Still, I think Sonic Team took the control and level design from the 2D games and translated them very well for Sonic's first true 3D outing. Sonic's best pal Tails is here, and he's doing his thing, flying around and being cute. Tails' levels are merely chunks of Sonic's levels where he has to beat Sonic to the finish line. Tails can fly around and take different routes to the goal, which is pretty cool. I wish he didn't have to be stuck in a race against Sonic in every level. It'd be super fun to fly around and explore these levels. Even playing this gameplay now, I've been finding some new routes that I haven't seen before. I believe I said I didn't like Tails' levels as much as Sonic's in my first Sonic Adventure review, but after playing as Tails again, I find myself really enjoying his levels. His last level of Speed Highway in particular is a blast thanks to how many options Tails has to get to the end of the stage. I wish there was an option just to play the level and not have to worry about beating Sonic or Eggman. Don't those two schmucks have anything better to do? Knuckles is back in Super Emerald Hunter 4 Arcade Edition, and Knuckles. Probably one of the more controversial parts of this game. Knuckles' levels don't have an end goal. Instead, Knuckles has to explore the level in search of the Master Emerald shards. Now, normally, I'm not a huge fan of collectathons, wasn't a fan of the Banjo games, Donkey Kong 64, Ukulele, and the same goes for Knuckles. But I will say, I don't mind the hunting levels in Adventure 1. The levels are small enough to not get lost in, but are dense enough to keep players interested in exploring. They play to Knuckles' abilities of digging, gliding, and climbing very well, giving the impression that Sonic Team actually gave a crap about level design. It helps that the Emerald Radar has a nice wide range of effect and can easily detect the emeralds. Punching stuff is fun, and flying around is also fun too. Not a fan of Knuckles' stoic characterization though. Seems out of place after him being a laughing asshole in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Hunting is kinda out of place here, but for what it's worth, I had fun hinting for the Master Emeralds. It could have been done a lot worse, and we'll talk about that later. Amy Rose definitely got the short end of the stick here in Adventure 1. She has the shortest campaign of only 3 levels, whack-a-mole, then a boss. Amy befriends a bird who fell from the sky and is constantly being chased around by the robot Zero, who is into the furry scene. Imagine Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, but easier and with a giant hammer. Amy moves slow, befitting her character, but can bash things in with a hammer, which is a lot of fun. You really can't rest in Amy's levels too much, as Zero is constantly on her tail. She can knock Zero down to get a few seconds of space, but you gotta keep moving to stay alive. To give Amy some credit, her levels are nice and long, and goes into areas even Sonic doesn't go into. That said, her campaign is also the most cutscene heavy, giving the impression of padding. I don't mind playing Amy's levels these days, but if she moved just a smidge faster, I think I would like her a lot more. Next is Big, and fishing, which is kinda buggy and not well implemented. Even the most hardcore of Adventure 1 fans have a hard time defending Big's levels. There are 2 big problems why. For one, the fishing mechanics are super buggy. Moving the rod is very unresponsive, and sometimes the lure doesn't set when catching a fish. Not helping is how randomly close the fish needs to be to Big in order for him to grab it. Hey, Big! It was right there! It might be me, but I found fishing to be even less responsive on the PS3 version compared to the Dreamcast or GameCube release. Second, Big's levels are nothing but padding, plain and simple. Take Big out of the plot and nothing of value would have been lost. Fishing would have been fine as a minigame like it was in Ocarina of Time. While I like fishing more in Adventure 1 than I did in Ocarina of Time, I didn't need to play 4 freaking levels of fishing before I shoved a boot up a Ganondorf's ass, did I? In short, Big is pretty bogus and only there because Sonic Team was short of hitting the page count. Last up is E102 Gamma, a Robotnik robot who turned good. He sort of plays like a more refined version of Burning Rangers if you've played that amazing game. Scan targets, lock on, and score some major points. Some people hate Gamma's gameplay, but I really dig him in this game. Gamma controls great. Admittedly, you really need to get the hover upgrade as soon as possible for better control. Catharsis runs high with Gamma. Running past multiple targets, blasting up to 30 seconds or even a minute of extra time is quite satisfying, even if the boss's Gamma fights are piss easy. Gamma himself is pretty uninvolved with the plot, doing his own thing. No spoilers here, but definitely grab some tissues. Grab your blaster and blow up some bots before you go blow your nose. Yeah, I think I like fishing in the video game more. There's a lot of annoying things holding Adventure back from being considered on the same level as an Ocarina of Time or a Metal Gear Solid. The camera is very sporadic and moves in awkward positions that make it unclear where to move. Sometimes the camera gets stuck behind some of the scenery, adding to the frustration. A free camera mode was added to the DX versions of Sonic Adventure, which helps out a lot. The other flaw of the game is that it's just really buggy. Adventure 1 was rushed to market in Japan in 1998, so Sonic Team cleaned it up for the domestic release, but it's still super buggy. Sometimes characters fall off course, and it's easy to break the whole game if you really try. More to the point, Sonic and Knuckles are the only characters that really have any importance to the plot. Tails tags along with Sonic, Amy gets chased by a furry, and Big is Big, and Gamma just kinda does his own thing. And bar one stage with Gamma and Amy, just about everyone else's stages are shorter and just chunks of Sonic's levels. It feels like Sonic Team only had a clear idea what to do with Sonic, but couldn't make his campaign long enough to justify his own title, and wanted to mix things up to avoid the game being too repetitive. Your mileage might vary on how successful the Sonic Team was in that regard. Alright, check it out! Got me a big one! All that said, Sonic Adventure has some really good points that I appreciate more as an adult. The story, while cheesier than a 3-cheese burrito, works. I always liked the darker style of Sonic, and Sonic Adventure realized Sonic's darker moments that things like Sad AM and the Archie comics hinted at. Despite the stiff voice acting, there are some scenes that work really well. The scene where Amy is talking to Gamma in the prison cell always stood out to me as one of the best moments in the whole game. And this flashback about Tails is so good. Remember kids, silence is golden. Just about every character goes through some sort of character development, especially the mentioned Amy and Tails. And the graphics are beautiful with lots of environments to explore, from casinos to beaches, from snowy mountains to a volcano, from the city all the way to the past. Sonic Team really went out of the way to create amazing environments with unforgettable moments to explore. Running down a building, getting chased by a boulder, outrunning an avalanche and a whale, all in a day's work for Sonic. Not to mention the music, which is one of the best soundtracks in all of gaming. Not only that, Adventure is jam-packed with content. Adventure constantly rewards the player with emblems and points. There's multiple mini games like shooting, which my friend really liked back in elementary school, snowboarding, even though I'm sandboarding here, racing cards, boss rushes, fully explorable hub worlds. Hey, I like the hub worlds. There isn't much to do in them, but there is a lot to explore, and there are a lot of NPCs to talk to. And then there's Chow. I'm not gonna front, never been into Chow. If you can't raise a Chow, you can't raise a child. It's hard to break my nostalgia to Sonic Adventure. It was my first Dreamcast game, and it was the first time a game ever truly wowed me. I can look past its faults and enjoy Sonic Adventure as a product of its time and as a product of my youth. Will other players be able to do so? Can't say for sure. If you go into Sonic Adventure with an open mind and a willingness to accept some flaws, a fun game awaits.
Yes! Yeah, not bad.
A lot of people like to hate on Sonic Adventure these days, and I can kind of see why, but you know what? It was a product for the time, and for the time, it was a really solid title, and today, I still think it's worth checking out. It's pretty easy to find these days, but I would advise against buying the PlayStation 3 version. It just doesn't look as good as the Dreamcast or GameCube versions, and it doesn't have all the features like the GameCube version did unless you want to pay DLC, and I don't think it plays as good as either of the original versions do, in my opinion. I recommend getting the GameCube version as it looks the best and has the most content with all the Game Gear games and the mission mode. So there's my hot take on that. Anyway guys, thank you for watching. We'll get around to some of the other 3D Sonics again in the future, but for now, I wanted to talk about a game that was very, very, very special to my heart. Anyway guys, so thank you for watching. I'm going to hit the water again, and I'll see you next week for a new episode of The ZMan Show. Alright, I got a big one. It's a new subscriber, and that new subscriber is you guys.